Now, yesterday, if you remember, we went over a study about how students are using AI in order to get through schooling. And I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before. And we talked about whether uh, generative AI has actual positive or negative outcomes in terms of that. And we looked at the study because there was some moron on X who was making some bold claims that teachers are in shambles and they're not going to be needed anymore, some stupid thing like that, which is entirely not true. So I found this study which had a few tidbits that kind of were mostly in line with the previous study that we went over, but had some extra things in them. So for example, depending on who you are and what personality traits you have in the big five personality traits, you will have a better or worse outcome in terms of what you get out of generative AI as a student. Now, if you're a non native English speaker, you will get a little bit more because, of course, AI can kind of help translate some ideas and concepts. And if you're Asian, Asian students report higher generative AI usage, perceive greater academic benefits, perceive. So this is self-reported perception, right? It's not actual quantifiable metrics, and express a stronger preference for it. Similarly, Black students report a more positive impact of generative AI on their academic performance. And personality traits also have an impact, right? So depending on who you are, you're going to see some benefits on using AI as part of your educational value. Now, if you just look at the abstract, right, and you don't read this study because you're too lazy or because you rely on someone like me who's not lazy, who you pay $0 to, by the way, to do this crap, okay? You rely on someone like me, high school dropout over here, reading scientific papers in order to get down to the. So, if you are unwilling to use your brain and read the entire study in order to figure out how they did their how they executed the study and who did what and what the different outcomes were, etc., and you just listen to people who go on X and spout stupid nonsensical stuff, then you wouldn't realize that there's a nuance here. And here is the nuance. First of all, the academic performance is a self-perceived, so it's self-reported. That means that the teachers did not actually report on whether students did better or not in terms of raw numbers, A's, B's, C's, D's, or percentages of passing grades versus failing grades. The students just self-reported whether they felt like they got an academic performance boost out of generative AI as part of their academic journey. On top of that, learning was barely impacted and in some cases negatively impacted, especially by highly intellectual students. So the more that you had the intellectual or just raw, logical, smart power in the big five personality traits, the less you got out of learning from generative AI, and the more you prefer traditional sources versus AI. So if you're really actually smart, you'll avoid AI. That's the key takeaway. Okay, don't use AI. It's meaningless in your academic studies. Okay, it means absolutely nothing. But you don't get that kind of nuance. You don't get that kind of understanding unless you read the study like I have.